Hey everybody, this is Melissa Bumstead with Parents Against the Santa Susana Field Lab. There is an important DTSC meeting tomorrow night. It's a town hall, and we wanted to go over some of the talking points with you, some of the reasons why we need you to show up at this meeting well informed. So we're just going to have a brief overview right now with Haakon Williams from Committee to Bridge the Gap. Haakon, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me, Melissa. Yeah, I'm the Deputy Director with Committee to Bridge the Gap. Been working on the Santa Susana cleanup for a couple years now, and excited to share with folks some of what DOE, Department of Energy, is doing right now. Because yeah, as you say, tomorrow DTSC is having this meeting to go over some of DOE's recent activities. So we want to get the facts right so we can talk to DTSC in an informed way and hold everybody accountable.
So when DTSC and the Department of Energy put out this order to demo 8 new buildings up at the Santa Susana Field Lab, you know, to me it just kind of feels like busy work. It doesn't really seem like it's actual remediation that's going to protect the community. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, in a sense, you know, some of the buildings will be removed, but when we say the buildings will be removed, that's not entirely true, because only the above ground portions of the buildings are planned to be removed. So the foundation slabs and anything that's below grade, any basements or anything, any soil around the buildings, all of that is potentially contaminated and currently not planned to be remediated.
And I know that the AOC specifically states that buildings are to be treated the same as soil, in a sense to protect that everything goes to a low-level radioactive facility, waste facility. But really the AOC is about cleaning the soil and the groundwater. This really isn't doing that. Tell me a little bit about how, we noticed that 4 buildings that they list out from the Santa Susana Field Lab that they're going to demo, again, like you said, only to the slab, not anything that could be potentially very heavily contaminated. They're going to send 4 of those to a licensed facility, which is great. You know, that's what we want. But then 4 of those buildings, they said, are only going to be sent to authorized waste facilities. What does that mean to you?
Well, that's some fancy wordplay, basically. An authorized site, that doesn't really mean anything. What we care about is licensed to receive low-level radioactive waste. You know, we don't want to dump this waste on some other community, on some facility that can't handle it, where the waste is maybe going to migrate away from that facility. And so that's the concern, is that, as you pointed out, 4 of the buildings are currently slated to be sent to what they're calling an authorized site, and that does not comply with the AOC's requirement to send it to a licensed site. These buildings were next to the radioactive materials handling facility. So there's definitely reason to suspect and to test for radiation to really determine, you know, where these buildings need to get sent.
And maybe it's just sloppy work, but it just seems like, for me, a red flag, because we've had to really be specific with the DTSC in the past and with Department of Energy, NASA, and Boeing, because sometimes this wordplay can end up being really dangerous. So we are hoping to get clarification of that pretty immediately, hopefully tomorrow night at the DTSC open house. So we need people to ask a lot about that. Like Haakon said, we don't want to send this to a facility where it could harm those community people, where it could harm people living near those waste sites. That would be very dangerous. That's something we would fight against as a community, especially, again, with environmental racism being a real active thing that's happening in America. A lot of times these non-licensed waste sites are near communities of color that are economically disadvantaged, and that's not something we would ever let happen in our community. So DTSC needs to clarify that for sure, and we need people to bring that up at the meeting tomorrow. We'll have more talking notes with the specific buildings listed and all that for you if you want to read. So I also saw that something that we need to bring up at this meeting tomorrow is that the Department of Energy put out a record of decision about the groundwater that seems really concerning, really a huge violation of the AOC again. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, you bet. This is definitely something that I hope folks will bring up at tomorrow night's meeting with DTSC. This is DOE's latest decision document, making a decision about the cleanup, about what is to be done with the contaminated groundwater. And Department of Energy has decided for the most part to simply leave it in place. This is, again, wordplay. They call it monitored natural attenuation. It's a fancy term for we're going to leave it there and come back every once in a while and check it, see how high the levels are, but we're not going to do much remediation.
And from what I recall, the plume of contamination that they have down there is TCE, which is a Class A carcinogen. It's incredibly dangerous chemical to just leave in the groundwater. And again, that violates the AOC. I'm really concerned that the DTSC has not said anything to stop the Department of Energy's record of decision. I mean, it seems like that's something they would have immediately jumped on and said, how can you even think of issuing a record of decision, a final document on something so completely opposite, like completely opposite of the AOC? I don't think you could get more opposite unless you started dumping more contamination in.
Certainly don't want them to do that. Yeah, this is something that is fully within DTSC's power to enforce, and enforce it they should, because it's unacceptable to leave these contaminants in the groundwater.
Right. And it's not just because we want nice groundwater for the sake of nice groundwater. In Simi Valley, 30% of Simi Valley drinks mixed well water. And so it's a big deal. This is potentially water that is being mixed in with the drinking water for the people of Simi Valley. Almost every single school in Simi Valley uses Golden State water, which is that mixed well water. So not only is it something that would be really nice to have clean groundwater, it's actually imperative that we protect our children and our community of Simi Valley from drinking contaminated water. Natural, how do you say it? Natural attenuation?
Yeah.
That's what it is. It is just appalling. It is beyond words of how bad, and that DTSC wouldn't be standing up. This is something we really need you guys to hammer in tomorrow's meeting.
This is their decision as of right now. This is DTSC lets them get away with it, and if we let DTSC let them get away with it, then this is the groundwater cleanup that we'll get. Okay.
Well, again, Haakon, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm sure we'll have more questions for you in the future as this goes forward, but just your research and your dedication to helping my community stay safe has just been invaluable. We can't thank you enough for what you've done for us.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I'll see you folks at the meeting.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.